What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the June 8th edition of Raw Talk that aired after Raw last night on the network. I believe it is available for the free tier of the network for those interested in that, which, by the way, for those wondering, what does it include, what does it involve, whatever, it's largely like recent episodes of Raw and SmackDown, all the older shows, like if you haven't seen 6 years later, all the Monday Night War shows from 2014, I guess you can watch those for free, Ride Along, Table for Three. To me, it's nothing of true importance. You don't get the pay-per-views for free. You don't get the last ride for free. Not sure about like the 24s and shit, but like the more important stuff, you don't get for free. So, which in my opinion is why you should be paying $10 a month for the network, because you get a lot more great stuff than what they're offering for free. It's still a good deal, but I think for $10, you just get everything, and why not? Some people can't afford it, and that's fine, but some of the stuff they're offering, in addition to live pay-per-views and all the NXT takeovers, for example, it included, not the free tier, but the $10, of course, included the Takeover in Your House show from last weekend, which was amazing. From 2 days ago, it was a great show. So anyway, we're talking about Raw Talk here today from last night. I'll probably make it a habit to start reviewing the show. I mean, I reviewed it last week, but I'll probably be breaking it down weekly here. And I didn't do it for Raw Talk originally years ago, probably because it wasn't a regular show. I think Raw Talk was only brought in occasionally after Raw, or after the Raw pay-per-views, I think. I never really reviewed Talking Smack, although I did watch it because it was such a great show. This is not Talking Smack, unfortunately. I like Samoa Joe a lot. Charlotte Caruso, as good as she is no Renee Young. And you don't have that, like, Daniel Bryan, you never know what he might say type of factor. Because, like, when Bryan was on the show, and I said this last week, you never knew what was going to come out of Bryan's mouth. The guy was so unpredictable. It wasn't a tape show, as far as I know. They might have started taping it down the road. I know they aired it after 205 Live, and I think they would tape it during 205 Live, so it would air on tape delay, so they could edit out stuff if they wanted to. But I think originally it aired live right after SmackDown, before 205 Live came into the picture. But anyway, though, it's a good show to kind of offer a recap and fallout from what happened on Raw. I thought this edition of Raw Talk was better than last week's. Last week's I had barely any notes on whatsoever, because they first of all recapped way too much from Raw, from what we literally just saw on Raw. And then they took up too much time with the entrances and whatever, because the show took place in the middle of the ring. They did Raw Talk in the ring right after Raw in front of like all the PC recruits and whatever, as they're called. I mean, I would say NXT superstars, but whatever. This one was more of a traditional Talking Smack type setting, where they were backstage, in front of the panel, whatever, which honestly I like a little more. Having the crowd there is fine, but you're not going to do that after we get fans back in a couple of months, I would assume. People are not going to want to stay to see a fucking talk show. So I'm not too surprised that they're going back to doing the backstage type setting, and it looks better too. And having the fans there can be a bit distracting, and you're not wasting time on entrances either. So I like what they did here. Among the guests, they had Edge, R-Truth very briefly, and Apollo Crews, the new United States champion. The only recap they did on this entire show, the only video package that aired, recapped the final few moments of the Asuka-Charlotte match, the main event at Raw that saw Charlotte beat Asuka after interference from Nia Jax. That was the only thing they recapped, and that took all of maybe no more than a minute, which I appreciated. Joe did say that Asuka, he believes, has the edge at Backlash, knowing her history rather, with Nia Jax from years past, always having beaten her, whatever. I don't think Nia Jax has ever beaten Asuka before. They had a pair of matches on Raw and Elimination Chamber years ago, and they were actually kind of good. They were kind of good matches, so I'm hoping we'll have a similar, equally entertaining match on Sunday, but I'm not, getting my hopes up, given Nia's recent track record of injuring people. And I say recent, but she's been hurting people for years. Anyway, so they bring in Edge, who talks about how different everything is now compared to the last time we saw him in the ring 9 years ago. In regards to, he has a family now, there's a lot more people that he has to worry about aside from just himself, and having to deal with that doubt. He talks about that doubt creeping in upon his return. Can I still do this? Can I hang with the talent of today and tomorrow? There's a lot of guys like Orton who are the talent of today, but what about people like Drew McIntyre and maybe not AJ Styles? He may not be here for too much longer, but people like that, can he hang with those people? That's the doubt that he had, and I'm sure that's a real thing too. He talked about it here in storyline sense, but I'm sure that's a real thing. I mean, As great as it is that he's back from injury after almost a decade, I'm sure he's wondering to himself, okay, I conquered that struggle. Now can I stay atop this mountain? Can I get back to the mountaintop? And I did. Can I stay here now? I'm sure is the new question that's brewing in his mind as we speak. Samoa Joe, I don't know if it was Joe or Charlie, but they brought up, like, do you think your family and fans may be disappointed in you if you don't go over on, if you don't win on Sunday, if you don't win your match against Randy Orton at Backlash? He knows his family will never be disappointed in him, but he just doesn't want to disappoint the fans by losing to Randy and proving him right. He does praise Randy, and he has many, many times before, calling him one of the best in the business, one of the best opponents he's ever worked against. And they said, oh, you proved yourself at WrestleMania when you won the Last Man Standing match. And he's like, yeah, but it wasn't a standard wrestling match. It was Last Man Standing. I know my stamina is good. I know my wind is good. But I don't know if I can go hold for hold with a guy like Randy Orton. We're going to find out on Sunday. And I'm glad they brought this up, and he did say this exact same answer. He did give this exact same answer to ESPN in a recent interview, which Edge is no dummy. Edge is not an idiot. He will not toot the company's horn, toe the company line for the sake of doing so just because he works there. He's not going to shit on the company, nor should he. But he gave a very honest answer. The same thing he said here, he said in an ESPN interview, which is this. In regards to whether the Backlash build, whether it being billed as the greatest wrestling match ever, do you feel like that puts pressure on you? Do you feel like it's accurate, whatever? And he says, oh, obviously it is. It obviously puts massive pressure on me. And he called it specifically a massive, massive albatross, in the sense that you're putting a lot of pressure on these guys to go out there and have this amazing blowaway match when it probably won't be. Because even Edge said, there's no singular greatest match of all time. There's no singular greatest song of all time. There's no one singular greatest band of all time. It's so subjective. There's no one greatest anything. For the company, they're going to promote it as the greatest wrestling match of all time. Is it false advertising? No, it's not, because to them, it may be the greatest match of all time. It really is all subjective. Some may say that, Alicia Fox versus Melina from SummerSlam 2010, according to Cameron, might be the greatest wrestling match of all time. So it really is dependent on what you think, what I think, what Edge thinks, what the company thinks. There's no false advertising there. I'm not a fan of it, but I can see why they're doing it. I totally get it, Samoa Joe even asked, do you wish, or I think it might have been Charlie, do you think, or rather, would you have wished that things with Randy played out differently than they did? Do you wish you really had to go to this place of intense, just intensity and this hatred for each other? And he said, no, I honestly really wish that we could have gotten the band back together and reunited Rated RKO, which I completely agree with. That would have been a great moment, a great match, but it just wasn't in the cards. And to be honest with you, they have Edge's first match back as Rated RKO to face who? With the fucking OC? Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, I think it meant more for Edge to come back one night and then to get portrayed the very next night by Orton. I feel like it made it more unpredictable. You knew he was going to turn on him eventually. No one thought it would happen when it did. So I'm honestly kind of glad that we didn't get it. Maybe down the road. I'm sure we will get it down the road. Just not right now. They said what his goal is, and he said, my goal is to win. He wants to prove that he could do this on a level of his own professional pride and prove to himself that he could still do this no matter what. So that was the Edge. That was the end of the Edge interview. We then hear from R-Truth in the back with Sarah Schreiber. And I guess R-Truth forgot for a moment because he got attacked by Bobby Lashley earlier on in the evening on Raw. I guess he forgot that he was the 24/7 champion because she brought it up and then he disappeared for a quick moment and then came back with the 24/7 championship. And she goes, what are your thoughts on defending this championship, albeit for the fucking 30th time? Because the guy has defended this, not defended, but he's held this 24/7 championship no less than 30 times in the last year, since it was first introduced in May of 2019. So she asks, what are your thoughts on being a fighting champion and defending against people like Akira Tozawa who have held it before, as well as people who haven't held it before, like Shayna Baszler? The first time we've heard of Shayna Baszler's name in quite some time. She was on Raw maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago for the submission match with Natalya. Natalya's another one we have not seen on Raw in the last week or two, which is good. I'm not complaining. I really do not give two shits about Natalya. But for Shayna, though, it feels like she's quickly losing momentum. Now, I know why she's not on the show now, because she's not on Backlash on Sunday. I get it. But the issue is that she should be. I like Asuka a lot. Shayna should have been Raw Women's Champion. I guess the idea is to turn Asuka back into a babyface, which is kind of what they did, which isn't the worst thing. But Shayna should be champion. Like, they had her lose at WrestleMania when they shouldn't have. They had her lose at Money in the Bank when they shouldn't have. They had her lose at the Royal Rumble when she shouldn't have. It was a massive mistake. And it feels like the less that she appears on TV, the more momentum she loses. Whatever momentum Bianca Belair had upon getting called up a couple of months ago is completely gone. Like that. It's just completely vanished. Because she has not been on the show whatsoever. And again, she's not on Backlash. Yeah, I get it, but the issue is that she should be. She should be on Backlash. She should be winning more matches. Beating what's her name? Or Katarina, excuse me. The woman that was with Sin Cara on Raw late last year. She should not be beating Katarina, on main event. Those matches should be happening on Raw. She should be building momentum on Raw. Anyway, I'm completely off track here. Sarah Schreiber asked him, what are your thoughts on potentially defending the title against Shayna Baszler? R-Truth thought she said Shane McMahon. And Sarah goes, well, Shayna's a woman. And he goes, are you telling me Shane McMahon is a woman? And then he just slowly walks off, which I thought was great. It was a funny little bit. I love R-Truth. He's always entertaining. This was great. We then get to Apollo Crews. Samoa Joe asks him, listen, Apollo, people have been saying 4 years. And Samoa Joe knows. Samoa Joe came up in NXT with Apollo Crews. Maybe not outside of WWE. I'm not sure how well they knew each other before coming to the company. But when Samoa Joe, literally the night Samoa Joe debuted in NXT was the same night that Apollo Crews showed up in the crowd at that NXT TakeOver Unstoppable show over 5 years ago. And when I first heard the I thought it was Apollo Crews that night at TakeOver Unstoppable when Joe debuted. I thought it was Crews, but it was Joe actually instead. So I think they actually had a match in NXT a number of years ago as well. That was won by Joe. Nonetheless, he basically asks him, what are your thoughts for years now being told, he's the future, he's so talented, he has so much potential. Do you feel now that being the new United States champion, that potential is being realized? And Crews says, yes, I do. I do feel like my potential, I hate when people talk about their potential, but I get what he means here. He's like, yeah, I do feel like I'm finally fulfilling my potential, being what people always hoped I would be, blah, blah, blah. And they even asked him, well, what changed? Did you change your workout regimen? Did you change your attitude, your outlook, blah, blah, blah? Crews said, well, I feel like I was given an opportunity, and I stepped up, and now I'm exceeding expectations. He knows there's a target on his back when addressing the Zelina Vega stable of Andrade and Angel, and Austin Theory's gone now, but specifically those two, because they were involved in that triple threat. Kevin Owens wants his United States Championship. He understands you should never, never, never underestimate an opponent. And he knows what he's getting into with the Andrade match on Sunday at Backlash, which I'm looking forward to. So that was the Apollo Crews interview. They then showed in the final few minutes of the show, because there was a couple minutes left and I wasn't really sure what they were going to do to fill the time. This was tremendous. So they dedicated the final few minutes of the show to a clip from a recent, I can't say talk because it makes it sound like I'm talking about a TED Talk. Titus O'Neil, which I think he actually did. I think Titus O'Neil did a TED Talk a number of years ago, and it was amazing. Like 3 or 4 years ago. You have to go out of your way to watch it. It's here on YouTube. Check it out. So it looked like he was doing some sort of an assembly type of thing, O'Neil was. I'm not sure who else was there, but you could see policemen standing behind him with masks on. So it was one of those type of events. And WWE really hasn't mentioned a whole lot about the whole recent protests, the Black Lives Matter movement and everything else. They did put out one statement on their social media about a week ago. It's currently, I think it's still up on their website. They were positioning it pretty highly on the website, which is nice. I don't really know if they've said anything on their shows exactly. I don't think they have. I know some shows like Impact, for example, I think, and maybe AEW as well, put up something before their shows talking about how they're committed to, their black superstars and their performers and fans and doing well by them, doing right by them, blah, 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 which is great. WWE, I don't think has done that, which, whatever. People have their own opinions. I have my own opinions. That's besides the point. I'm very happy, though, and they have actually talked about it. I don't watch the show, but I did see, I think Titus actually talked about it on the bump, but I'm really glad they showed this clip. Because, everyone has their own opinion on what's going on right now. But what Titus said here, he fucking nailed it. The guy nailed it. And again, everyone has their own opinion, but I think if you don't watch this clip and agree with this guy, then I'm not going to say you're a part of the problem, but I'm not sure where you're coming from with your mindset and whatever. But just watch the clip. I'm not going to recap the whole thing here. It's about a minute or two long. I mean, I'm sure the whole thing is longer. But he talked about how, he's not defending the police. He's not defending really anybody. He's just saying that, I've been having this talk as a black man myself, Titus said. I've been having this talk now for years. This year, last year, the year before that, the year before that. We got to do something. And the guy was very passionate, you could tell, about what he was talking about, which I really much appreciated. But not only how passionate he was, but what exactly he was saying. He was like, throwing bricks at the police will not solve anything. If people are saying that you shouldn't be protesting peacefully, well, screw them. What they think doesn't matter, which is absolutely accurate. What he was saying about the police, you should not be throwing policemen, bricks at policemen. I completely agree with that. Some of the police are part of the problem. I'm not going to go on a huge political rant here, but he just made a lot of great points, and I forgot a few of them that I wanted to bring up, but he was saying that, another thing he brought up, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, everyone's lives matters. He was saying he's not going off on people who say, oh, all lives matter, and he was like shaming those people, because who gives a fuck? I get it that the people that are saying all lives matter are ignorant for not really realizing what the whole Black Lives Matter movement is about, because I totally get it. Black lives can't matter until, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Like, I understand where people are coming from with that, but there's no reason to shame Chris Jericho for his opinions. I mean, the guy might be ignorant, but he's not a racist. You know what I mean? And he was saying, Titus even said, listen, it's not a matter of who matters and who doesn't. Who gives a fuck? He didn't say that, but that's basically what he's saying. He's like, we shouldn't even be paying attention to that argument. Black lives matter. Everyone's lives matter. Let's end this racism. This is a time to unite. And I completely agree. Who the hell cares about the little nuances? Well, we're all arguing about dumb things. Oh, all lives matter, or Black Lives Matter. I totally agree with the whole Black Lives Matter thing. I'm completely on board with that. But I'm not going to go out of my way to shame people that are using the hashtag all lives matter. I get it's a part of ignorance. I totally understand that. But who gives a fuck about those people? Let's be honest here. We all want to end racism. That's it. That's it. That's the bottom line. And if you're for that shit, then go fuck yourself. Because obviously those people, I would assume, aren't going to come out and say anything. I would hope not, because you're just an idiot if you do. But anyway, the bottom line is that this clip was amazing. That was really the best part of this whole episode of Raw Talk for me. I know this review went way longer than I was anticipating. It's almost as long as the show itself. But yeah, just check out the clip. The Cruz interview, the Edge interview, the R-Truth bit were all good. But really, the highlight of this episode for me was the attention they gave to O'Neal and his comments about the whole everything going on right now with the nationwide protests, which I really did appreciate. I thought that was great. So anyway, guys, that was my review of Raw Talk for June 8th, 2020. Thank you, as always, for checking out my videos here on the channel, here on WWE Network and Chill. I'll probably create its own playlist for Raw Talk reviews, which I'm hoping to do every Tuesday now here on the channel. I know I put up 2 videos today, which is kind of rare, aside from like the Wrestle Rant radio excerpts and stuff. The MCU Rewatch review series will probably be a Monday thing, once like Total Bellas winds down and the Taker documentary stuff winds down and whatever. Those will likely go up on Mondays. My Raw Talk reviews will likely go up on Tuesdays. So that's for the foreseeable future. That being said, though, check out all the other WWE Network and Chill videos here on the channel and all the other content I put up daily. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit that little bell icon to be notified every time a new video is uploaded. And for tomorrow, in addition to the whole MCU Rewatch review series that went up earlier today, recapping Phase 1 of the MCU, tomorrow, #AskGSM, Thursday, Wrestle Rant radio excerpts, Friday, the Season 5 finale review of Total Bellas, Saturday, my SmackDown review, Sunday, I'm not sure yet. Actually, I think it's going to be the Taker review. I think the Taker episode goes up on Sunday, so keep an eye out for that as well. At any rate, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.